One of the biggest things they did, and nobody knows that they did it. I was chatting to a German guy, and he was perplexed by this. Absolutely perplexed. He was like, yeah, you know, Trevor, in Germany we've done so many things. And you know, the national anthem was quite a big change for us. I'm sure the whole world talks about this. I was like, nope. He's like, what do you mean? What do you mean? No, who doesn't talk about it? I was like, nobody talks about it. He's like, who's nobody? I was like, nobody, like no one. No one outside of Germany talks about it. No one even knows this. He's like, how can they not know? I was like, what do you mean, how can they not know? It's like, it's German. Like, no one speaks German outside of Germany. How would anyone know? And also, you guys did something weird. You changed the lyrics, but you kept the beat. It's a strange move. You know? You're like, this song is terrible and we are going to change it. Yeah, what about the beat? No, we are keeping that because I've learned all the moves, yeah? That's probably why most people don't know it, like it changed, right? You kept the beat. Most people don't know lyrics, we just know the beat. Right? No one knew Michael Jackson was saying you're a vegetable. None of us knew that. Some of you right now are like, wait, when did he say vegetable? Yeah, you sing it your whole life. You're a vegetable. No one knows lyrics, we just know the beat. That's what Germany did. It's weird. It's weird to not change the music, because the music comes with emotion. I was trying to explain this to him. He didn't get it. And I realized, you know what it's like? What Germany did would be like if in Star Wars, right? You know Star Wars. Right, let's say like Darth Vader. Whenever Darth Vader came into a scene, whenever he landed on one of those planets, you always knew something was about to go down, and something bad, because he had his music. Right? The music told you what was going to happen. Ship would land, door would open, and he'd be standing there. But he would never come into the game without his song playing. Never. He'd be there, DJ on the side, like, DJ, play my jam. That's right. And then you knew it was about to go down. Get down there, kneel before me, Jedi. We'll never kneel before you, Darth. We will fight. You cannot defeat me. He's so strong. I don't know if we're gonna win. Defeat him we shall. Use the Force we will. Ah, you have defeated me. We did it, Master Yoda. We did it. We defeated Darth Vader. Indeed we have. What do we do now? Free the Empire we shall. Travel around. The good news we shall spread. Let's do it. Yes, a new song we shall play. Boom, 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 boom. You're free. Boom, boom, boom. It's weird. That's all I'm saying. It's still impressive, though. It's still impressive. Changing your national anthem is no small thing. It truly isn't. Changing anything. We were having this conversation, and so afterwards he said something interesting to me. He's like, yeah, you know, because we saw how Germany had to change how it saw itself in order to change what it did. You know, that's why we had to change the anthem. I was like, wow, that's really powerful. He's like, yeah, do you think America would ever change? I was like, don't even finish that sentence. You don't even finish when history calls. Thank you. You know, the conundrum of life is that just because the big is happening doesn't mean that the small stops. Just because the big is happening doesn't mean that the small stops. Yeah? It's one of the conundrums of life. How much of the big do you focus on, and how much of the small do you pay any heed? It was captured perfect for me. There was an exchange that I saw online between two people. Someone posted, just graduated, really excited, got straight A's, party at my house, everyone's invited. Right? It was a joke, obviously, not everyone, because of the internet, not everyone's invited. And then people started posting, and then someone jumped in the comments and was like, really? Throwing a party at a time like this? Read the room, look around you. Is now the time to be celebrating? This is not the time to throw parties when we're at it. And it was this whole thing, and then it devolved into a huge fight. And I'll be honest with you, I could actually see where both people were coming from. Emotionally, I got it. On the one hand, someone was saying, how can you throw a celebration at a time when it feels like the world as we know it has fallen apart? How can you be joyous when it looks like every norm and institution we have understood that makes up the fabric of society is falling apart? Our public trust is falling apart. Our trust in each other is falling. How can you throw a party? But the other person was saying, how can I not? I have lived and worked my entire life to get to this place. I have finally achieved it against all odds. And so for this moment, I wish to enjoy. And both are right. Right? Both are right. In every hospital around the world, there's a ward where a baby has just been born and another where somebody has just died. Jubilation at the start of a new life. Despair at the loss of someone you've always loved. Neither ward incorrect. But then which one do you focus on? I got an answer for myself in one of the most random places. I was reading a book. There was accounts from soldiers who served during World War I. And they're talking to veterans who had been there at the time, and this book goes through their experiences. And a lot of them talk about the trench warfare, which was some of the worst warfare man has ever invented. Right? When it went on for years and years and years, and these soldiers would cycle in and cycle out. Every day could have been their last. And in the midst of all of this despair, there's one common thread that you see with every single soldier that they speak to, almost every single one, and that is that they found their joy in the trenches. They have these moments where they host card games and they play around. They had a satirical newspaper that they started, and they'd make jokes about their commanding officers and what was happening in the war and each other. And one of the wildest things I read was there was a day when a cow walked into the battlefield. So it was in no man's land. It was perfectly between the Allies and the Axis, and it was like both sides wanted the cow, and then they shouted across to the Germans and they said, we want the cow. And then the Germans were like, no, we want the cow. And then they agreed. They said, okay, let's play a game. We'll throw up coins in the air and we'll try shoot them. Whoever hits the coin gets to keep the cow. And then the English soldiers shot the coin, and then the Germans were like, okay, you win the cow, but we'd like our coins back. And then the English soldier went, got the coins, and was like, oh, they're going to kill me. And then got the coins, and then gave them to the Germans, and then ran back and got in the trenches. And then everyone was like, fun game! It's littered with stories. There were stories of soldiers singing to each other. On evenings, randomly, they would sing across enemy lines at the other soldiers. And the other soldiers would sing back. Can you imagine that? You're in a trench. Your feet are rotting. Everyone's tired, scared. In the midst of that, all of a sudden, someone's just like, say you. They found their joy in the trenches. And it hit me because it made me realize they remembered what they were fighting for. They were fighting to live. They weren't fighting to fight. If you forget what you're fighting for, then there's no point in fighting. You're fighting to be joyous. You're fighting to explore yourself. You're fighting to have adventures. You're fighting to laugh. You don't just fight to fight. You're fighting to live. Just because the big is happening doesn't mean that the small stops. So Germany was fun. And then we headed to Paris, France, to do shows. For the first time in my life, I was very excited. Always wanted to perform in Paris, didn't know what it would be, but can I tell you? Paris is everything they tell you it is. It is easily one of the most romantic cities I have ever been to in my life. I fell in love 1,000 times. I was by myself, it didn't matter. Yeah. Every night it was just me and those bed bugs, baby. I really enjoyed Paris because, you know, I got to meet Parisians in person. You know, not stereotypes, not things that you're told about them. No, actually meet French people, learn about them from them. And I learned some truly amazing things. For instance, the French have a very different relationship with work than the rest of us, right? In that they don't give a shit about it. Which honestly I found inspiring. Yeah, I feel like a lot of us have become a little too attached to our work, you know? We identify with our work. Have you ever asked somebody just randomly, be like, hey, tell me about yourself? And they'll be like, well, I'm an architect, and tell me about yourself. Well, you know, I own a hair salon, and tell me about yourself. Well, I'm a teacher, and tell me about yourself. And people will tell you about what they do. You know? It's become the thing that people focus on. The French don't do that. No. You'll never meet a French person who does that. You go up to a French person, you'll be like, excuse me, what do you do? Be like, oh, me, I go for walks with my friends, and, you know, I like to, you know, eat good food, and you're like, no, what do you do for a living? It's like, for a living, pardon, okay, for a living, okay, no, I breathe, and, you know, I drink water, and, you know, of course I have to make love, you know, It's just a different way to be, man. You know, not being so attached to your work. It was lovely. I learned this because when I flew to Paris,